the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. Here we discuss all matters: paganism, heathenism, witchcraft, history, and mythology. Leave a like, leave something nice in the comments, share this with everyone, and enjoy yourselves on this amazing episode of the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. Welcome all to the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. It is good to have you all here. It's good to have you all listening, to have you all watching once again this week. My guest for today is Mr. Brian Fleming. We already did a show with his wife, actually, so if the last name and setup looks and sounds familiar, that's why. And it was actually his wife that who told me, like, hey, you should do a show with my husband too. Like, he really liked what you and I did, and yeah, well, here we are. So Brian, thank you so much for coming on. And for those who may not be familiar with you just yet, I'm sure they will be after the show, introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I watched the episode you did with my wife, and it was an incredible episode. You led that extremely well. The whole thing was just amazing. We sat there and watched the whole thing in one sitting together, and she was having these moments of, tears even coming back sometimes, remembering some of the beautiful moments from the healing she experienced and what she went through. And you just did a phenomenal job interviewing her. And so I very much enjoyed watching that. And if your listeners haven't heard it, they need to go back and watch or listen to that episode of yours. But yeah, I'm Brian Fleming. I'm here in the United States. I live in the state of Michigan. And yeah, I've been married to her for almost 19 years now. And I joined the United States Army straight out of high school down in Miami, Florida. And, my parents divorced when I was 12, come from kind of a broken home. I always say that my parents' divorce actually mentally toughened and prepared me for the war in Afghanistan I would eventually fight. Mentally, it toughened me from a young age. And I think was one of the big things that actually allowed me to get through a lot of the bad things I experienced mentally, and getting through it and moving forward in life afterwards.
That's rough, man. Like, straight out of high school in the army, you'll hear that a lot, actually, in the States, at least. But the army still has that reputation there of being the heroes and all, which is actually crazy to think about. Like, straight out of high school, you were what, 18? Maybe?
Yeah, I was 18, and this was back in 2003 when I graduated high school. And so, you think about 9/11 was in 2001.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a pretty different world back then concerning Afghanistan and bin Laden and all that, compared to, more recent times in recent years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it just seems crazy to me that, by 18 you can actually go into the army, especially if you look at the like the other rules, regulations, and laws that, you have in the US. Like, you can't even drink a beer until you're 21.
Yeah, you can die for your country, but you can't drink a beer.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I've seen stories of veterans, especially Vietnam veterans, who hated being back home because, back home, let's say, they enlisted by 17, actually, went somewhere by 18, got home from their first trip by 19, 20.
Yeah.
Couldn't even get a beer on, like the cafe at the corner. So, back at home,
yeah,
they were boys. They weren't even adults yet.
And we always had our ways of getting alcohol. The rules didn't mean much.
Course. No, of course.
Legally speaking, but yeah. Well, it's interesting you said like about Vietnam veterans because, that was obviously a very different time in America.
Yeah.
They came home and they were spit on by our own people, which is just absolutely insane to me. But also there is something about war that is more simple. It's simpler than civilian life. And a lot of people might not understand that at first. But when you're at war, you know why you're there. You know what the missions are. There's structure to life. You're waiting for the next mission. You know how to do your job. You go out and do it, and you hopefully come back. And life is very structured and pretty simple to balance. But then you come home, life's different. Maybe you're different. Maybe mentally you're working through some things. You have all these different things in civilian life that were outside of this sort of institutionalized mindset of the life at war. Life at war is very simple. It can be chaotic for sure, but it's actually quite simple. So coming home, it's people don't realize that living, integrating back into civilian life can be very, very different. If you can imagine like somebody being in prison for 10 years or something, and life is very structured, you're told what to do kind of, and then you're thrown back into society where it's like, oh, you just have to, it's like getting thrown out of a car doing 60. You just start running really fast, and or whatever 60 miles an hour would be in kilometers for you. Like you would just start running and try, tumbling, and you just sort of figure it out and adapt and and move forward. And sometimes the transition can feel like that. Other times, not so much.
Yeah, I mean that's why I can imagine that for younglings, for kids who grew up, like yourself, for example, in a broken home, parents, divorced, like that is your structure, that is your home base as a kid. So if that falls apart, your whole world turns to chaos. And I know that perhaps that's a thing in the entirety of the West. I'm not sure.
Well, I'll tell you this, though. The military...
Sorry, no, go ahead, man.
I was going to say, on that point of like structure, the military was actually very good for me also in the sense that coming from a broken home with no structure and really no father or parental figures around, it gave me a lot of structure of how to live life and how to organize my day and organize my life and how to move forward and things to do. So in that sense, it was actually very good for me as well. Because even now, my whole framework and mindset for life is that life is a battlefield. And I understand how a battlefield works. Well, those concepts of a battlefield, actually, they overlay onto life. As you know, things I'm sure you've been through in your life. There's you're trying to do something, there are enemies trying to stop you. Then you have like the propaganda that goes through your head. Can I really do this? Am I going to win or lose? And then, who can help me? What does victory and defeat look like? How am I going to get from where I am to where I want to be? These are all battlefield concepts. And so when I learned those, that was one of the greatest lessons ever. It's like, oh, I know the pieces I need to put together. And I got that from the military. Yeah.
I mean, in that regard, it's great, of course. And I know that for a lot of, let's say, troubled youth, they, their options really either are, life on the streets, prison, or the military. And I mean, the street, yeah, I mean, you're not some tough gangster who can, you know, life on the streets. It's very much glamorized, of course, in, you know, the hip hop culture, especially, but it's a hard fucking life. Jail, I mean, yeah, there is, as you said, you know, there's definitely structure, but you're not free in any way, you know, always being told what to do. And I guess in the military, you're also told what to do, but you have a lot more freedom. And, you know, at least you're getting paid and you're getting decent meals, and, you know, people actually, you know, take care of you, and there's like proper camaraderie, like not just camaraderie, like, hey, we're all in this together, fucking might as well.
Yeah, well, and you learn a lot of skills as well, like not just, you know, practical, you know, occupational skills, but life skills that benefit you your entire life that, you know, a lot of people just don't learn outside of a military setting, or at least not that early on in life.
No, I can imagine. I mean, my wife, she lives close to the Air Force base in Colorado. Always wanted to be an Air Force pilot, but you know, she was a young mom, and she is she's too short as well, 4'11". So yeah, I mean, she's a Spitfire in her own right. So I guess still some sort of a Air Force pilot, just
yeah.
But yeah, so she's, you know, learned me a lot about, you know, how life in the military is, and how, because here in the Netherlands, it's so incredibly different. Like, first of all, you don't see them as often, you don't hear it as often, not from, let's say, from my generation. Like, my father's generation is a little different, my grandfather's generation. I mean, back then, you didn't have a choice. Like, you were going to enlist, and that's the end of it. But yeah, there's such a discrepancy. Like, we're both Western countries, but and you have actually been through some quite some things in Afghanistan. I mean, if I just look at the you know, the URL of your the website that you have, you know, blown up guy, it's like, sounds
yeah,
sounds like quite something. I mean, blown up, but you're still here. Like, how'd you do that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so my website you're referencing is blownupguy.com. That's my professional speaking website. People who want to book me to speak for their conferences or conventions. You know, I've spoken all over the world, mainly in North America, but I've been over to Europe too. That's mainly about the speaking I do for different conferences, conventions. But yeah, I don't look blown up anymore. But back in 2006, when I was in Afghanistan, I was inside of 2 vehicles that were blown up and completely destroyed while me and my guys were inside of them. The first one was by a roadside bomb on April 18th of 2006. It was a double stack of anti-tank mines buried in the road, and our vehicle ran it over, our Humvee, and it blew it up, set it on fire. And I got out. Everyone got out. I had to drag one of my guys out. Fortunately, you know, him and the other guy who were injured, they both returned to duty a few weeks later. And then a few months after that, on July 24th, I was in the front passenger seat of the lead vehicle of about a 15-vehicle convoy driving through Kandahar. And we were going to Kandahar Airfield, which is the main base in Kandahar. And we were about 2 miles away from the front gate when a minivan got up next to my door from about me to this wall or closer. And he just turned into me, right into my door, and exploded. The whole van blew into like billions of pieces. And it was being driven by a suicide bomber. And he went out there to die that day. And I'm happy to report that's exactly what he did. It was his choice. And I'm happy to report he was the only one to die that day. And again, that was his choice. But me and one other guy got injured. My gunner was severely injured. He took shrapnel to the face. He had some second-degree burns. Ended up losing his right eye, 19-year-old kid. And I was down inside the vehicle, and my entire face and neck were burned off second degree. And then both my hands were third degree, which, if you can see, I had skin grafts done, reconstructive surgery. I had skin from my legs grafted onto my hands because the burns were the third degree. It was so bad they had to take skin from one part of my body and put it onto my hands to replace that skin. And so, yeah, I woke up in a ditch on the side of Highway 1 in Kandahar. I was burned and bloody. I had no idea where I was. My first thought was, why would I go to sleep here? I didn't remember laying down there. So I'm like, why am I laying here? And then I'm like...
Seems like a reasonable thought.
Yeah, I thought, well, then I thought, well, are we in a firefight? Well, nobody's shooting anybody, and so there's no gunshots going off. And then I thought, well, shit, where's my weapon? Well, my weapon was still in the vehicle. I was not in the vehicle. I was outside the vehicle on the ground. And so I got up, did sort of a push-up and got to my feet. I was just sort of kind of dazed and trying to figure out, like, consciously, like, okay, where am I? What's happening? Okay, I'm in Afghanistan. Okay, yeah. Why? How did I get outside here? I don't remember getting out of the vehicle. And then my medic came over and, he sat me down. He started wrapping up my hands and doing his job, which fortunately my driver, Mike, he was a combat medic. And so he took care of me and the gunner and called in the medevac helicopter. The guy just was absolutely stellar under pressure. When it came time for him to do his job, he absolutely killed it. He did a great job. And I was medevaced out of there. I was sent from Kandahar to Bagram in northern Afghanistan, then on to Landstuhl Medical Center in Germany. And then from there, I was sent back home to San Antonio, Texas, where I stayed. I was at that hospital for a year and 2 months recovering.
2 months, damn. Okay, that's a long ass time.
Yeah. It was that July 24th of 06. It was one of those days when you wake up and have a bad year.
Yeah. I mean, luckily the other party, let's say, succeeded in only half the goal.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's
kind of like the trash took itself out, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, like, does that mean that he also only gets, like, half the virgins, or...
I don't know, are half of them boys, or are they half girls, or are they all ladies, or...
No.
There's not a whole lot of specifics I hear in that theory, so I don't know.
Oh, God, like, I've seen jokes about that, like, imagine just, like, 72 of those, like, virgin Dungeons and Dragons nerds or something, the pimples and the glasses, like...
They're all on their laptops.
Oh, no.
Like,
no,
shit.
That'd be horrible. Hey, we didn't specify what kind of virgins.
That's right. I always say this, though. I would rather have one woman who really knows what she's doing than 72 who have no idea.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I mean, it sounds, like, oh, virgins, they're still pure, and I guess, yeah, that's true. But, like, imagine having to hear 72 times, ow, it hurts, no, stop.
Or they're not any good at what they're doing. You're like, you've never even done this before?
No, why do you think we're virgin?
That would get so annoying.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if reincarnation is a thing in Islam, but I would definitely be like, yeah, like, can I just go back now and, just do life again? Because this is not ideal.
I would just be like, I don't know in Islam where they come up with this concept, because obviously, I mean, virginity is like a physical thing, and once you die, you're not really, as far as my understanding, a physical entity. But I would just be like, hey, can you just give me a woman like 10 years older? Maybe she's not 17 or 18, 19. Maybe just give me a 30-year-old, but she like really knows what she's doing. Like, I'm good with just the one. Like, thanks, but no thanks. Keep the other 70.
Like half the number, twice the age, and the experience. I mean, like that we're talking.
Every day of the week.
Yeah, sure. Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, man.
But damn, like, second degree burns, third degree, you must have been in agony. Like, I mean, I know my father, a couple of years back with New Year's, he was making, very traditional Dutch dish, oliebollen, and he was actually making it on a pan on the fire with just oil, you know, heating up the oil, deep frying it. He moved the pan too quickly, so just scorching hot oil over his hands, and that shit was nasty. I was in we were with friends of the family in the Belgian woods, the Belgische Ardennen. I was like with with the kids, because I have a younger brother, younger sister. They have, kids too, our age. We were in the other house, the adjacent house, just, doing board games and dice games and whatever. And I remember just hearing him screaming like through the wall in the entire other house. And that was just his hands. But so I can't imagine like over your, like a whole side of your body. I mean, the physical scars will heal eventually, maybe not be pretty, but I can't even imagine the mental scars. Like, you were blown up, and not just once, but fucking twice. It's
yeah,
it's a miracle that you're still so coherent, and that a miracle that you actually, live to tell about it.
Yeah, it's interesting, the mental side. I mean, because after coming home, I don't know. For me, it didn't seem like it was as big of a deal as I think a lot of people expected it to be. It was like my whole outlook was really just kind of, yep, this happened. It hurts. But I'm still alive, and I'm healing. I'm getting better, and, I'll move on once I'm better. What's for lunch? And this really wasn't me like trying to be tough or anything. It wasn't that. It wasn't me trying to avoid dealing with anything, like avoidance or anything. I really wasn't. Like I'd said earlier in our episode here, I think it was just the fact that my childhood was so mentally tough because of my parents' divorce and how that unfolded, that I just expected life to be hard. And when it was, it's like you get hit. You roll with the punch, you go around it, you get hit again, well, you just adapt and you keep going. And that was just kind of all of life I'd ever really known, is like, you get hit, you get fucked up a little bit sometimes, and then you just deal with it. You put the pieces back together as best you can, and you keep moving forward again. And that was, really the mental side of it. As far as how I was affected mentally by it, like as far as my outward expressions, and my wife would tell you this, the big thing really was just that a lot of times I would have a very short temper, because I was used to, living in a combat war zone where, people walking down the street, they could be just walking along looking like nothing, and then you pass by them and they pull out a gun and try to kill you. And so you're very kind of on edge, or you're short-tempered. And over the years, I've been able, through a few different therapies and things like that, able to learn how to deal with that better and get that more under control, thankfully. But I do know people who, when they go through trauma, I will say this, there's no right way to respond to trauma. Everybody is different. We're all wired differently to an extent. And sometimes people just push through, and it doesn't look like it bothered them, even though it does affect them, maybe like me. There are other people, they freeze, they're cowering in a corner, they don't want to move, they shut down. That's also maybe the other extreme end of response to trauma. And neither one of those is right or wrong. It's just like there's like a range, a spectrum of how people respond based on who the person is and what happened. And, so I don't like it when people say, wow, Brian, you pushed right through it. It doesn't seem to have affected you. Well, it did, but, I responded how I respond. And my job was infantry. So my job was to go pick fights with terrorists. Mentally, I'm built for that. Physically, I'm built for that. There are other people who they're better suited in a different role and they'll do way better than me in that different role because they're just not made for that kind of thing. And I don't know why I made for this, or I've developed to the point where I can handle that kind of pressure and pain, but apparently I can, even though I don't like it. I don't like pain. Pain hurts. I don't like pain.
Yeah.
But everybody handles things differently, and I think that's important for people to understand. Nobody should ever feel bad for how they handled trauma. I mean, because when you're handling trauma, you're just basically just tumbling and rolling, like I said, like getting thrown out of a moving car. You're just doing what you can to regain control and say, okay, let's get back to figuring things out and trying to slow down the chaos. But I tell you, the worst part physically was not the actual explosion that burned me, that suicide bombing. The worst part physically was actually the night 3 days later when I arrived in San Antonio, Texas at Brooke Army Medical Center. They took me up to the 4th floor, which is the burn ward, where all the burn patients go. And I didn't know anything about how they treat burn patients and how they treat the burns, but I found out very quickly. The nurses took me into the shower room, and the head nurse looked at me and said, "Hey, Sergeant Fleming, we're going to do this as quickly as possible, so it'll be as painless as possible." And I had no idea what he meant by that, but I knew it didn't sound good. I thought, what the hell's he talking about? And, well, I was burned 2nd degree on my face and neck and 3rd degree on both my hands. And so at that point, him and about 2 or 3 other nurses all pulled out razor blades. And they had to start shaving and ripping and tearing the dirty and burned, charred skin. Think of like a burnt piece of chicken, and you're like scraping the skin in excess off it, off my hands, face, and neck. It's a process called debridement. If you know anyone who's ever been like severely burned and went to the hospital, basically they have to remove all that dirty, burned, charred flesh because it will get infected and you can die of infection. So they have to get it off and clean it. And they keep you awake through it because if they put you in anesthesia, they usually have to do it multiple times. Or if they have to put you under anesthesia, frequently, they're afraid you're going to slip into a coma and maybe not wake up. So you can also go into shock from the pain. So they do it as quickly as they can. And for me, it took about a half an hour, which was probably the absolute worst fucking experience of my life. And I have friends who were burned like full body. And then, I mean, I was like 12 or 15% of my body was burned. I have friends who were 70, 80, 90+% burned. I can't even imagine what the hell they experienced. But yeah, that was the worst part there. And, I was just kind of just wishing I could either die or go unconscious. I never wanted to die. I've never been suicidal, but just being able to be out of the pain. Yeah. That like, I understand people who get to that point. They just want the pain to be gone. Like, I've never been willing to kill myself, but I was kind of wishing I could just go to sleep and not wake up, or just be unconscious until it's over. Yeah. I do understand being under so much pain, you just want it to end, and you don't know how. Like, if anyone listening has ever been there, if no one else gets it, I get it. Like, I understand what it's like to be in that position. And one thing I'll tell you from that position, too, is when you're in that position, all you can see and feel is what's in that moment right there. You can't see 6 months down the road or 3 or 5 years down the road, where life will tend to usually get better. Because when you're in it, you're such in a survival state of mind, and all you can see is really sort of like 5 feet in front of you. It's the pain, it's what you're dealing with, and then you think it's never going to end, and there's no foreseeable path you can visibly see out of where you are. That doesn't mean there isn't one or many. It just means you can't see it. And so you have to remember, when you're going through hard times, it's like the seasons of life. We have winter, we have summer, we have spring and fall. And no season, naturally speaking, no season lasts forever. So if you're in a cold, dead winter in your life where it's painful, and you're just thinking to yourself, God damn it, like, is this ever going to end? This pain, this chapter of life I'm in, it's rough. Maybe you lost a bunch of money. Maybe you're going through a divorce. Maybe you got a diagnosis, bad from the doctor, or you're going through some sort of pain and you're just thinking, like, is this ever going to end? Naturally, it has to keep progressing and changing. You can't always control when it's going to change or how, but the hands of time always continue to turn. The seasons always end up turning and changing. If you're in a cold, dead winter going through things right now that are painful, spring and summer eventually come. And you have to remember that. It would be unnatural for that not to happen.
Yeah. No, I recognize that. I mean, not from myself, but my brother, my younger brother, wasn't physically as much as it was emotionally, mentally, and yeah, I mean, all he saw was winter, all he saw was darkness, and he hasn't managed to escape it. I mean, he took the well, he did, and it ended himself, unfortunately. So
sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It's still weird. I mean, it's been 2.5 years, but I mean, yeah. And
that can't be easy.
No, definitely not. Never will be either.
Yeah, if anybody's there right now, one of my biggest pieces of advice too, if you're feeling alone and you're just like, I just want to end this shit, like, go get around other people. Like, I'm naturally perfectly fine with being alone for long periods of time, but that's not always the healthiest thing. And what I would say is like, look, it doesn't discount what you're going through, but go get around other people and find someone who's dealing with something really bad in their own life, and just talk to them. Let them talk to you. Just hear them out. You know, don't go for the purpose of maybe telling them all about you, but just listen to them.
Yeah.
And then if there's something you can say to help them, do it. Because there's something healing about going through your own struggle and then hearing about someone else's. One, you realize you're not alone, even if it's a different struggle. I'm not struggling alone. Are there other people going through their own thing? So you know you're not alone, which is a huge thing. And two, if you can actually give someone a piece of advice to help them, it engages like your sympathy and your empathy for another person. And it actually makes you feel really good if you can say something that helps somebody else make a good decision when they're in this pit that they're in. Yeah. And that has a reciprocal effect. That has a like a karma-like effect. When you help someone else, there's a good feeling that comes back to you. And sometimes that's all you need to make it through the next day or two. That, okay, I don't feel so bad now because that person said that what I told them actually really helped them. Well, that feels good. You've got to find whatever you've got to do, whatever these little release valves are to release the pressure. Like on a big air tank, you have these release valves, because if you don't let little bits of air out at a time, the whole thing's going to destabilize and explode eventually. Well, find your release valves. What are little things you do that you can just let a little bit of air and pressure out of yourself? Whether it's helping someone else, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's riding motorcycles, hiking in the woods, cooking. I mean, you got to find what are your little release valves where it allows you to just kind of escape that and release the tension. Everyone's kind of different, but we're all kind of the same. Everyone needs to find I would say they're like their top 2 or 3 things, and then really make it a point to do those things when you're feeling really, really down in a dark place. Yeah. I mean, in the end, we're all human. So, you know, as you said, in a way, we are still sort of wired the same. Let's say the blueprint is pretty much the same. It's just what's built on top of it and with it is, a little different. Yeah, we all like ice cream. You might like chocolate, I might like strawberry. But true. it's all ice cream. To your point, we're all the same. It's just the specific details we might have different personal preferences.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I can say for sure that and I've felt that, I've noticed that like I train jiujitsu once, twice a week.
Oh, I love it. So do I.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I try to go to the gym once, twice a week, a little more if I, had to skip jiu-jitsu for some reason. And there have been times where I was just so busy with life, work, wife, kids, whatever, you name it, that I haven't been able to do something, just a workout or, a night in the dojo for weeks, and it just starts to itch. And there is actually this build up of unreleased energy and emotion inside of myself that I'm just like, I need to do something. I don't care what it is. I just need to just do a workout, and I don't fucking care what kind of workout it is. I just need to be busy. I need to be doing something. And I've said it many times before, like jiu-jitsu especially is my way of meditating as well.
Yes.
I mean, that's where I get in the flow. It's where I can, where I can focus, where I can be for a bit, even though other people are trying to, strangle me and rip my arms out and break my ankles and whatever. Yeah. Good thing I'm trying to do the same thing. So, hey, it's at least, 50-50 in the best cases. I mean,
well, what's great about, I always used to call that jujitsu therapy, because, back when I lived in Texas, I did jujitsu for like 5 or 6 years straight.
Nice.
And 4 or 5 days a week. Yeah, I swam. I didn't drink the Kool-Aid, as they say in America. I didn't just drink the Kool-Aid. Like, I was swimming in it. Like, I'm one of those guys who got addicted to it. And
oh, yeah.
And I always say jujitsu therapy is like one of the best therapies. I've never walked out of jujitsu after a training session, even if I got completely torn up or I was tearing other people up. I've never walked out not feeling good. And I think the reason is because you walk out so physically exhausted.
Yeah.
All your brain chemistry, the chemicals, have been so jumbled and mixed up as you're rolling around trying to choke a guy or lady who's trying to choke you. And you're, and sometimes they're better than you, sometimes they're not, sometimes you win. Sometimes you have that one purple belt who's just an absolute predator. He's like the mad enforcer. It's like, the brown belts, they send the purple belt after the new guys who are being jackasses. So like, that guy needs to get humbled,
Yeah. So, oh, God.
But,
yes.
Oh, it's so great, though. I'm so glad you said that with jiu-jitsu. That has been such a huge release valve for me.
Yeah.
And not only because of what it does physically for you, but it's a confidence builder for so many people who wouldn't have that already. Because when you realize, like, let's say you're a smaller person, typically smaller people are afraid of bigger bullies. Well, jiu-jitsu is a superpower. And you can be a younger person. You can be a woman half the size of a guy, but you're more experienced and completely choke him. And
that's true. That is so true.
What's the real telling thing is when a big guy like that, like a big gym guy, comes in, and he gets choked out by a guy or a lady half his size and maybe twice his age and half his size. Either he comes back the next day or he doesn't, and it's like they don't know how to like they've always been the alpha, and now they're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, you realize, like, if this was a street fight, this person could have ended me, and I couldn't do anything about it.
No, that's so great, and I do sometimes still have a tendency to underestimate people, especially. I mean, there are not a lot of women in my dojo. I mean, it's a smaller dojo, but still the Gracie lineage. So
yeah,
that's amazing. My teacher has been, was a student of one of the Gracies, so it's as legit as it comes.
Yeah.
But there have definitely been a few times with one of the girls that I'm just like, I'll take it a little easy on you. Big mistake on my end, because damn, then they grab me and they tumble me, and I'm like, oh, okay, you are a lot better and a lot stronger than I thought, and this is a challenge.
I'll tell you, one of the worst things to be in is like a triangle choke from a woman who's good at triangle chokes, because women have such strong legs and like that center of their body, like they're childbearing, they have strong thighs. That you get caught in one of those, I don't care how big or small she is, like you're pretty much fucked. Unless you're really good at getting out of triangles, which is not an easy thing to do.
No, I've been caught in those numerous times, and you can try, but it's holding on either till the buzzer sounds or till you have to tap.
You do what you can.
Yeah, and those gym guys, I love rolling with those gym guys because they already have that strength, they already have that size, and like it's so satisfying when you tap one of those guys, because they are indeed like the big gym bullies. They're fucking twice, 3 times my bench or whatever, and
what they realize is like nobody gives a shit how much your max bench press is. It doesn't matter in here.
Nope.
Because to me, bigger people are easier to choke out. They have a wider neck. It's the skinny people with the necks this big around. You gotta get all the way around them.
Yeah.
The big guys, you can like get your arm halfway bent, and you're already all the way. Yeah.
No, but that's so true with jiu-jitsu. Like even if you like got absolutely mauled on the mat, like you still, just walk back in the locker room or the dressing room with just a smile on your face. And sometimes it's, that can be even greater if somebody just like very sneakily catches you in a submission, like one that you didn't see coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going and it's going well and it's quite even, and all of a sudden you're tapping and you're like, dude, what happened? I mean, damn, respect, but damn, I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, and then next time you're looking out for it, like that ain't gonna happen again. Of course, a lot of times it does, but you're on the lookout.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're becoming better. You're progressing and becoming better at something.
Yeah.
Every time you get choked or you tap or you get caught in something, then you're trying to figure out how to avoid it or get out of it. And I mean, there's so much self-development in just rolling, doing jiu-jitsu, as well as I would say, like philosophically, like in your mind, just the whole experience of this combat sport and how it develops you mentally. There could be an entire probably college degree on like the mental health benefits and philosophically and everything of doing jiu-jitsu.
Oh,
I mean, it's incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, getting rolling with the with the big guys, like that's definitely a challenge. It's also a mental challenge because they have like 40, 50 pounds of just body weight on you, which makes it just so fun to roll with those guys. Lessons in patience if you're rolling with like one of those spazzy white belts.
Try to put them down fast because they're going to hurt somebody because they're so afraid.
Yeah. I mean, that's there's one guy in my dojo. I mean, he's a good guy, but he is very, very ADHD. So he is, well, if you let him, he's quite literally all over the place.
Yeah.
And I would say that guys like that is such a lesson in patience, just in patience, because I mean, they are who they are, and they're all over the place, and it's fucking annoying when you're trying to, just roll and have a good time, but hey, it's who they are.
Well, here's where they learn. Here's where they learn. Those guys get tired fast. And as you know, once you're completely exhausted and you're out of gas, now that's when like the guy who was saving his energy and just defending against you, now you're tired. And then it's like, oh, now it's my turn. And now it's a lot harder to defend yourself when you're tired. And that's where your skill really shows. And so, the guys who spaz out and go fast, I would always just kind of block and play. I'd let them wear themselves out. And then when they get tired, then I just get them. when they start gassing out.
that's a lot of fun. I mean, the jiu-jitsu or just martial arts in general, it's so good for so many things. I mean, in the dojo, you know, like, yeah, it's a sport, so you get fit. The mental aspect is great because, I mean, as you said, and as I fucking confirmed, that you don't go. I mean, you may go to jiu-jitsu in a bad mood, but you never like come out of it in a bad mood. It's just, for some reason, it's physically impossible.
Well, I even remember, like, on the drive home, like, sometimes, you know, people drive like idiots sometimes, and somebody would cut me off, and normally I just want to honk and throw my hands in the air. Driving home from jiu-jitsu, I'm just like, oh, fuck it, I am way too tired to care or deal with this person. I've just been rolling for an hour. Like, I don't even care, man. I just want to get home and go to bed.
Just go home, have something to eat, and then just shower and bed, because goddamn, I'm sore. No,
I'm just too tired to care. Like,
And what is also great, and there are, well, I've seen many guys who affirm this as well, just the camaraderie in the dojo. Because, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're, you know, rolling with a spazzy white belt or like one of those fucking bully purple belts or whatever.
The like, guys who know they can get you, and they do every time. Like, you're not to the level you can quite compete with them yet, and so they know they can get you. But you know, in my experience, on that point, most people who are pretty good in jiu-jitsu, let's say if they're like a blue or purple or advanced belt, you know, if they know they can get you. I've never personally encountered too many people who are like absolute bullies if they're like people every day. Some people can be like that, but I found there's a lot of mutual respect in those places. And I think it's because everybody, especially if you're an advanced belt, you remember all the times you got choked to get to where you are. And it's like an ego thing that it balances your ego, because you realize, like, I don't care how good you are, somebody here is better, and they can do what they want to you. And so if you're going to be a jerk to other people, well, that purple or brown belt might come over and show you what it's like to get stomped on. So everyone tends to be pretty respectful.
That was me in my early 20s in the dojo, you know, like just young guy, fit guy. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking rack them all, and I'm like just gonna do it all power based, because that's how fucking strong I am. Nah.
Then it's like, my strength doesn't matter as much.
It's like, oh no, I'm burned and I'm gassed, and oh shit. Okay.
I have a 115-pound lady on my back, and she's choking me in a rear naked choke. Like, it doesn't matter how strong I am, because I can't breathe anymore.
No, exactly. So I mean, that's this is a tip for all young men who are listening, who are watching. I know that there are some. If I look at my analytics, it's you know, some young guys. Go train. Just go train, do something, doesn't matter, boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, just go train, you know?
Definitely. I think every young person, I wish we could require jiu-jitsu from like at least 16 to 18 years old. I mean, I think there'd be less fights in school, because everybody knows a lot more how to fight. People think, oh, well, if everyone knows how to fight, they'd fight more. No. If everyone knows how to fight, you've beaten people, and you've been beaten many times. And you're a lot less likely to do it, because you're not sure. You can't tell by looking at someone if they're good at jiu-jitsu or if they know how to fight. You can't tell by looking. And so you never quite know.
Sometimes you can, you know, a bit of a cauliflower ear, crooked nose.
Oh, that's the dead giveaway, yeah. If they've rolled enough to get cauliflower ear, don't fuck with them. Like, there's only one way to get that.
I've had some a job interview a while ago for the Dutch prison system. Didn't get hired, unfortunately, but I saw just this tall guy walking in, and he had those cauliflower ears. I mean, I didn't get to chat with him, but I was like already kind of thinking to myself, boxer or jiu-jitsu, what is it? Because you know he's a fighter if he has that that cauliflower ear. I've been lucky enough to.
In some way, he's rolled around and done physical combative stuff.
Yeah,
because that's the only way to get it.
Yeah, turns out
go ahead.
I overheard him, and he's an amateur cage fighter. So
there you
go. Both like boxing and jiu-jitsu.
Good combination.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, I've been lucky. Like, I'm not prone to getting cauliflower ear, so I'm very lucky when it comes to that. And I could have definitely used that in high school, even if it's just to have a release. Because in high school, man, I was getting in fights constantly. Because
a young guy with all that testosterone, you got to get it out. Like, that period of life for a guy, oh my God, we need something. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't have anything. And nothing like actually physical, like no real sports, not even gym or something. So all I did was, get me suspended.
I think a lot of people who, not that this was you, but you hear about people who are bullies and things like that. I think a lot of it has to do with all that pent up energy or insecurity or testosterone or something, and they're looking for an outlet. The great thing about jiu-jitsu in particular, like with other combat sports, is you can go get all that out in a safe, controlled environment, whereas if you go on the street, you or someone else can get hurt, and then you're looking at like criminal charges. But you can go there and you can let that out, and it's a safe place to do it for everybody in general, and it's a controlled environment. And if somebody gets out of hand, well, someone else is going to handle him. So, the black belt's going to come over and get that guy and drag him out by his neck if he acts crazy.
Yeah, if someone crosses the line, they will get that receipt.
Yeah, and that's like the worst place to cross the line, because everyone in there they're fighters. Like, that's not the place to try to be tough, man. Like, you're about to be proven not very tough.
Oh man, like still there, and then there are still those guys who just roll up to some random gym and are like, I can take fucking everyone here.
Oh yeah, the YouTube videos are great. When
eventually they get their ass handed to them. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one where a guy came in and did that, and I really don't think it was staged. And the black belt didn't roll them. The black belt guy, he sent a lady who's a purple belt of his, and she just fucking cleaned the floor with that dude. She just fucked him up. Like, she got him tapping like 3 or 4 times, and then she's like, "Hey, I can choke you out again. Do you tap? You tap? You're not gonna? All right, I'm gonna choke you if you're not gonna tap." Like, she's telling him as she has him, and he can't move, and then he just goes limp, and then he wakes up spazzing out. It's pretty crazy to see.
Yeah, no, it will humble you, and that's also the great thing with those higher belts. It absolutely fucking sucks as well, when they have you and they have you, and just like, okay, fuck, never mind, I'm not gonna get out of this, I'll just tap and take it as a lesson.
And what I used to do, which is a good thing, a lot of people do it, I would tap, and then I'd be like, "Hey, real quick, can you show me how I could have gotten out of that?" Yeah. And then I get in that, whatever move I hate being in, I would always like let people get me in it. And then I would learn how to get out of it, and I would try that. And maybe that's one way, but then they caught on, and so they were blocking that way out. Well, then I had to learn another way to get out. But eventually, the position I hated the most actually became the position I didn't hate the most, because I knew more than one way to get out of it, or a very effective way, because I sort of strong pointed that lesson. Like, I got in that position so many times that I got really good at getting out of it.
Yeah.
It's almost like I would sometimes I would start the match with like, "Okay, get me into guillotine choke," and go. And then it's like, okay, like, I got to work my way out of this. And eventually, you do that 150 times, you start developing the ability to get out of a guillotine choke, which is very difficult if the person really knows how to do it.
You get smart, really.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just, yeah, man, like combat sports in general, it's good for so many things. Like, it'll smarten you up in more ways than one. Can teach you some valuable life lessons as well. And especially for, you know, for men, younger guys, you know, in their 20s, like I was, you know, just that cocky 20-year-old, know when to give up, know when to tap out. And I think that's a lesson for all men, really. I think there are men of every age for whom that still is a lesson. Know when to tap out. You know, yeah, you're a man, you're supposed to be, you know, the guardian, the protector, the provider, but you can tap out if you really can't anymore. You know, if you can't breathe, tap. Just tap. Doesn't matter if it's on the mat, if it's in life, if you can't.
Well, everybody
breathe,
taps.
yeah.
Everybody taps. Like, there's no black belt in any jiu-jitsu gym ever who never tapped. Like, they've been tapped out thousands of times. That's how they got to become a black belt.
Yeah.
Like, they had to tap along the way. Like, that's part of the process, is you learn, you fuck up, you learn, you go back, you fail, you succeed some, then you fail some more when you go against a better person. And I'll tell you this, there are people who, like you said, like, oh, you have the big guys. The big guys come in. Not so much a problem unless, I'll tell you when the big guy becomes a real danger is when he's big, like the gym guy, but then he sticks around and keeps coming back to jiu-jitsu and he starts really getting some jiu-jitsu down. That is the most challenging person to roll with, because he's not only big and strong, but now he's got technique. And like, that's a really hard combination to get past. And so you've got to, you know, that makes you better. It makes him better. I would show guys how to get out of what I'm doing to them. And then they would go to get out of it, and I'd let them. Then I would not let them. And then they would have to figure it out, just like people did for me. But, you know, with like, what you don't want is a bunch of dangerous guys with big egos walking around, because that's dangerous for not only the general public, but, you know, themselves as well, because there's always someone bigger and badder. The thing about jiu-jitsu is that you can take that guy who may be a dangerous, legit dude, and you can break his ego down enough to go, hey, you're not the toughest guy, or, you know, you might get beat by a woman, and that's humbling, but also he can stay the tough guy he is, but his ego gets balanced in with that, because dangerous men aren't the problem. It's dangerous men who don't have control over their tempers and things like that. That's what really makes the world a bad place. But I think all men should be dangerous to an extent, but you have to be able to control that danger. You have to be able to, like, I'm not doing this, or, you know, I'm not just going to walk down the street and start fighting people. You know, and so when your ego is balanced by the fact, you know, you've been beat and there are people who can beat you, that makes it for a very, very balanced thing. But also you don't want dangerous people who are out of control. You want dangerous people who will act when they absolutely have to and not when they don't need to. And they don't need the ego boost because they've never been in a fight, or they only fight people smaller than them. But your ego doesn't need the boost when you're in the gym training and you're beating people and getting beat all the time. It provides a balance of sorts, I think, that is healthy for, I say men, but everybody in general.
Yeah. And I think that's also such a such a big thing, how we ended up in this society that we are now. Just a whole lot of egos left unchecked, or a lot of, you know, ego demands just given in, you know, like without anything, without an opposite word or like an opposite reaction. It's just like, we're demanding this. Okay, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. And
cool.
Yeah.
Now we're going to demand even more because you just gave it to us just like that. And, you know, that feeds the ego, and then you get all those people just fucking screaming left and right about bullshit. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, their ego's left unchecked and they get bored, so they have to make shit up.
No, seriously. I think that's a sign. Like here in America, there's so much that way. I think that's a sign like your life is so damn good, you have to make shit up to complain about. Like that's America. And most Americans, I don't think, at least those types, they haven't lived in other parts of the world like I have. Well, like this is like here in America at least, this is not normal. Like life in America, this is not normal in most parts of the world. And people have no idea here how good we have it. And I think that's a big part of people just bitching about everything, and like they're not having to necessarily always work hard to like survive because there is no safety net. I tell you, that's another thing I like about jiu-jitsu. I always say this, in jiu-jitsu, the mats don't lie. If you walk into a jiu-jitsu gym, it's going to show where your level of skill is at immediately. You can't lie about it. You have to put in the work. You have to develop. You have to be as good as your belt indicates. Because, I mean, if you walk in wearing a brown belt and you get your ass handed to you by a blue belt, people are going to be like, who the hell gave you your brown belt? Like, the mats don't lie. And in life, it's that way, too. When you've been through certain things, they tell the truth. And you can't sort of fake it. And that's one thing I really love about that, because jiu-jitsu makes you become better. Like, you don't have a choice. You naturally become better, and you become more confident, and all those benefits we talked about. And I think if more people had something like that in their life, overall, we'd all be mentally healthier.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, that's what so many people are fighting for, what so many guys like you, guys like me, and other guys that I know, whether they are more the influencer types or just regular guys, they're all like, hey, we need this, like we need an escape, we need a release, we're men, we need to be physical, we need to do something, and something without immediately being called toxic.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely toxic like men out there.
Oh, but for sure.
I don't think it's the majority. I think it's just masculinity in general. Actually, I think it's toxic feminism that's calling all masculinity toxic. And here's the thing: as a masculine man, I don't even give a shit if somebody calls me toxic. I think it would be less masculine to care if somebody thinks I'm toxic. Like, I've been called a lot of things, and like I really don't care. I'm not hurting anyone. I'll help people if I can. I have an opinion. It's like that. That's not a big problem. No, I'm not trying to hold anyone down. I have a mother who's single. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I hope they both do very well in life and do their thing and do what they want. I fully support that. And so, I mean, there's nothing toxic in that, but I'm still going to do my thing. And if someone doesn't like it, well, I don't give a shit. And, I think that's part of being masculine as well. I'm going to do what I want anyway, because I'm a man and I feel like it. And if you don't like it, well, go do something else. Go complain to someone else. I don't care, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not keeping anyone else down though while I'm doing it. That's the thing.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what you should be doing. As a man, you're supposed to set the example. You're supposed to be the guardian, to be the one who helps raise everyone else up. But I mean, people are gonna have opinions anyway. I mean, like just the other day on one of my videos, the interview that I did with Gary Wayne, like someone just cussing me out, naming me names, and you're this, and you're self-centered and narcissistic and whatever. All of that I doubt he even watched the full interview, and it was just a comment on someone else's comment.
Yeah, you don't come off as any of those things at all.
But apparently, according to some random guy on YouTube who left a comment on a comment and watched, I don't know, I hope that he at the very least watched the full show,
Probably not.
Like, No, no, but I like, on the other hand, I don't mind those comments either, because that's just more interaction, and interaction is what the algorithm likes. So
yeah, that's what those guys don't realize. Like, you're actually helping he's actually helping your video get more views.
Yeah, no,
like
exactly.
causing trouble. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, in my last comment, like I of course gave another comment on that, just very basic, like, hey, how about you just let me decide how I run my own show, okay? Thanks. Blah, 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 this, that.
Yeah.
And I just to, I mean, also to kind of be a bully, I just gave him just a thumbs up. Like, just a thumbs up emoji, because I know people like that, it enrages them. And I just, it's like, dude, you have no idea who I am. Like, you see, well, let's say, the podcast version of myself, which is, I mean, it's a fairly accurate representation, but still, I, have to make it a bit bigger, have to make it a bit grander. This is not, I mean, not always the things that I talk about in everyday life. I mean, I'm a father of two, I'm a husband, all of that. But you read a comment, watched some of it, agreed with it, and just started cussing me out.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
The thing is, I didn't come up with this, but it's true. People don't see the world as it is. People see the world as they are. They see it through their lens of perception. And to be honest, a lot of people, the word narcissist is thrown around so casually nowadays. I don't think most people who say it and accuse people of being a narcissist even know the textbook definition one. And I think, at least here in America, I think it's only like 3 or 5% of all people in America actually have narcissistic personality disorder. That's a very small amount of people. And so for everyone to just blanket statement when they're mad at somebody, or to just, say that in a comment to you, here's what else is interesting. A lot of times whenever I've been called that, a lot of times, not every time, because I'm not totally innocent, but a lot of times people saying shit like that to me, if you go follow them and read their stuff, they're actually the kind of person they're accusing you of being and acting like they're not. It's really interesting. It's like, so you're accusing me of being this, but everyone else looking at you, it's like, you're actually the thing you're accusing me of being. And everyone else who knows me is like, yeah, you're definitely not that, but they definitely are. It's just weird.
But that's different.
No, it isn't. That's a person who's like, shit, they caught me, and I don't know what to say now.
Just so many of those buzzwords, narcissist, fascist, whatever. It's
whatever the buzzword is. Yeah,
they've become so incredibly meaningless, and that's also another thing why. I mean, I used to be a little more sensitive with that, but now I'm just like, whatever. Some random commenter, some random dude. Okay, cool.
And if that person sat down with you, like had coffee or something, they got to know you, like there's probably no way they could ever be like, oh, that guy's totally what I called him. Probably not.
I mean, I doubt they will. They'd rather hold on to that image, of course. But I mean, people will disagree.
Well, and that's the thing about like YouTube and social media too. We very much depersonalize each other. Like, we just see, oh, this is some account, some person. Like, if I were to say something to you, like, I would never have to look you in the eye. Like, me growing up before the internet, I grew up before the internet. You said shit about somebody, they found you in the hallway or on the playground the next day. Like, hey, you said this about me. Or like, you and I, like, I would have to see you at jiujitsu. And so, like, hey, I'm less likely to talk shit because, hey, man, the guy might roll me up, like, who knows? But on the internet, it's like, it's depersonalized. Some people don't even have, like, a picture of themselves, and it's like a fake name. It's like that person, and I've had those where they said the same thing to me that he said to you, but there's no profile picture, or it's like a cartoon. It's a made-up name. This person didn't even have the balls to put their real name and face to it. And they might live on the other side of the world. I'm never going to see them in person, but they couldn't even do that. Yet that's what they needed to do to hide so they can make comments like that to someone like you or me. That's what's wild to me. Yeah.
Like, who's the coward here?
Yeah.
Who's the narcissist here? You're hiding behind some anime profile picture and some made-up name and a bio that, you know...
yeah. And they're usually not creating content themselves that could be criticized.
No, they're just criticizing.
Yeah.
They're just criticizing other people.
Because becoming a content creator myself, that actually made me a lot less frequently critical of people. Because I'm like, oh, most people are just out here trying to do something good, or what they feel led to do, like you with your podcast or anything I do. And I tend to be a lot less critical, unless it's like a major point where I'm like, I should comment on that. And I try to be respectful but direct. But being a content creator myself, just like you, I don't make brash random comments like that guy did, just because I understand people develop, and as you're making content, it's not always perfect, or something might be misinterpreted. There's so many nuances that could be. We understand that because we're in this process. People who don't create anything for the world, they never see that.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, I'm still a smaller content creator on YouTube, at least just over 700 subs. So
nice.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting there. You know, road to 1 million.
Yeah, well, 700 people who like the kind of content that you're producing, that's powerful. I mean, because, you don't have to have 1 million people that are general. If you have 700, 1,000 who very much like your specific kind of content, you don't always need a bigger audience to really start moving and shifting things.
If you have the dedicated audience.
Yeah, if you have the right people. If you have 700 of the right people who like your stuff, man, you're doing way better than you're leading on with that.
Yeah, no, I guess that's still, comparing myself to other
we all do it.
YouTubers who have like several 100,000 or, even million or
Mr. Beast.
multiple millions. Oh God. Yeah, but his content, I don't know. Good on him that, he's making what he's making, doing what he's doing. Not that it's always
that's hard
as,
to my
as
point
clean
was,
or above board.
Yeah. Well, my point was it's hard to compare to that. It's such a different world. Or if somebody looks at Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan has this huge. It's but he's been doing this for years.
Yeah.
He's a celebrity. He has great guests. He's been consistent for I don't know how long he's had the thing. And so, comparing to that would be not an accurate comparison, for anybody starting out or even a few years in.
He started as a martial artist, then did stand-up comedy. He's been
he's a Fear Factor guy too.
That's how he got started, I believe. That was his first real serious
I think
media gig. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dana White saw him. Or something. I remember Dana White, the founder of the UFC, or the guy who built UFC. I think he said something about he saw him there, and he mentioned something about he watched a minute or two of his podcast, and he was talking about jiujitsu, and he was thinking, man, this Joe guy is a better commentator than most people I'm paying. And so, and the first 2 or 3 fights, Joe was because Dana reached out to him, he was like, I'll do these for free. I just love it. But he knew what he was talking about, and he's enthusiastic. He loved it. That was what really grabbed Dana's attention, apparently.
Yeah.
And then it led to, he's a UFC announcer, ringside, and
he's a Taekwondo guy, right?
Yeah, he grew up doing lots of Taekwondo. I think he has a couple of black belts in jiu-jitsu.
He's legit.
Oh, dude, you ever see those YouTube videos of him kicking a heavy bag? Oh my God, dude, he would kick me across a room.
Yeah. Yeah, easily.
The dude's legit, yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's the thing, smaller content creators, I was just kind of visualizing 700 people in the grand scheme of things may not be a whole lot, but if I see 700 people on the parking lot here, just for me, just to, that they're there just to hear what I have to say, or, me and a guest of mine, or friend of mine, I would probably just clap shut. Like 700 people, fucking hell, on the internet where it's just numbers and you have too much to compare to. That's not a whole lot.
But each of those numbers is a person. Like you said, like what if you went to the local hotel conference room and you had 700 people walk in that room? Like, that's perspective.
Man, like I need a stiff drink before I can, before I can get anything out. I mean, you're a speaker, right?
Mm-hmm. I am.
How do you do that? I mean, you're very comfortable with it, but like a whole room of people just there for you, paying attention to you, like literally all eyes on you.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that, man?
Well, the thing, I mean, I've been doing it for about 17 years now, so I have a lot of experience. But in the beginning, though, it was even more nerve-wracking. The big fear people have, it's not the fear of speaking, it's the fear of rejection.
Yeah.
Like, what if I'm not good enough? What if I mess up? What if they don't like me? That's what most people are actually afraid of. It's not speaking. And you can go talk to, a group of people at your job and, public speaking. You're talking to 5 or 10 people. It's no different. For me, the thing that always made the difference is like, whenever I show up to speak at a place, I actually give a shit about the people. Like, before the event happened, I talked to the meeting planner. What are people dealing with? What are you all trying to accomplish? And then I tailor my message to helping them get that sort of outcome they're trying to get. And I know what the people are dealing with or struggling with that's stopping them. And so I'm there to help provide possible solutions that can inspire and equip them to do better in life. But nobody dislikes somebody who's legit trying to help them. And so for me, like, my job is to show up, be prepared, number one. When your message is prepared well, and you've gone over it a lot, and you know it well, half your fear goes away because you're prepared.
Yeah.
Being prepared is one of the biggest things. But the second thing is, I realized everyone in that crowd is just like you and me. They usually have families, they have stresses, they have jobs, they have money problems, or whatever. They're going through things. They have their own ups and downs. They're people just like you and me. But for that time I'm on stage, this is my chance to address problems I've been told they have, and I can help them do that. And I don't care if they like me or not. Like, at this point, I don't give a shit if any of them like me. But because at the very least, I like doing it. So even if they all hated me,
True.
I had a great time.
That is so incredibly important. But
you see, that never,
you like what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it never happens where a bunch of people. Well, I've never had it where a bunch of people don't like me, because I'm there to try to help them. Nobody really dislikes a person, even if it wasn't effective. The person tried to help us.
Yeah.
Now, I am effective because I do my homework before the event, and I make sure and I confirm with the meeting planner, would this be helpful? This kind of stuff, this content will help. Okay.
Yeah.
People like it when you show up to try to help. And that's all it really is.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole podcast that I'm doing. I mean, I started it to, because I wanted to make content. I always, like doing that, just being creative, doing something. I like doing that. And, it slowly but surely, it grew to like, hey, I just love doing this. And apparently there's an audience for it. Great. I mean, the guests that I invite on not, I mean, that's, for so many people, that makes me a bad content creator, because I don't think about what my audience wants. I think about what I want. If I think it's interesting, if I think that, even if it's like just from a short bio or whatever, and I'm like, that sounds interesting. That sounds intriguing. I want to know more about that. I'll invite that person on. And I mean, apparently, at least on YouTube, 700 plus people think the same way. So, hey.
Well, you know, and at the same time, if somebody can listen to your podcast and you have a variety of different guests on, and if they can't take something valuable from each of those, at least one thing, and go, oh, that was interesting, or oh, that made me think, or oh, that helped me, that's not on you. That's on that person. If I can listen to like an hour to 2 hour long talk and I got nothing out of it, like that's a me problem, not a you problem.
Yeah. Then you haven't been listening. Then you haven't been paying attention. I mean, like, you know, thanks for the click, thanks for the view. But if you're not learning anything from it, if nothing of it sticks, I tried. You know, well, I did my prep. I make sure that it's something that I at least know a little about. I make sure I have an interesting guest. If it doesn't stick,
well, you know, we spoke with Joe Rogan a few minutes ago. One of the key highlights of why I think his podcast is so good, there's several reasons, but one of the reasons is he has such a diversity of guests on, people I never would have heard of, or maybe never would have listened to. And he'll interview some of the most interesting people in the world that I never would have heard of. And, you know, I've been told, I have a couple of friends who have been on his podcast.
Nice.
And I've been told that one of the ways sometimes he'll pick guests is he'll hear of somebody, or he'll run across somebody just unexpectedly and go, hey, that person's kind of interesting. Like, I'd like to have on the podcast. They seem like, I'll bet we could have a good talk about something. And it might not even be planned. I mean, maybe sometimes, but from what I'm told, he sometimes just runs across people and thinks they're interesting people, and he has them on. Well, that's exactly what you're doing. That's what you said you do. And so that's not uncommon, and I personally like that.
Yeah. No, me too. I mean, yeah, it's absolutely diverse what I do. I mean, all at least for me, from a you know, like Germanic pagan mindset, Germanic pagan background, but I have learned so much in my years of podcasting and listening to other podcasters. I've met other podcasters. I've recently said this on a different show before, with Louis from Mystic Minds, good guy. Like one of the guys that I have on every now and then, I think I've done now 4 or 5 shows with him. I think 2 or 3 on my channel, 2 or 3 on his. I started out as a fan of his podcast, and he already had an audience, so to me he was already like another tier podcaster, because, you know, he's established and he has the logo and the audience and the quality and everything. And now I'm friends with the guy, and, you know, we did a show not too long ago where actually, like, after half an hour of just chatting, we were like, hey, should we like maybe be recording some of this stuff, because we're just shooting the shit here.
That's when you know it's a good conversation. You go, we should be recording this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And like, just so many. It's funny because I can now, in a way, like, count myself amongst them. But like, when I first started, like just a few years ago, it was like, oh shit, like, these are the big guys. What am I doing here? I'm so nervous. But now I guess I'm kind of...
Now you're one of them. They're your buddies.
Yeah. Which is so odd still sometimes. Like, they're doing it so much longer than I am too, and especially Nick from Occult Rejects. I mean, it's pretty much his job now.
Okay.
You know, like, I believe he's on YouTube, he's like up to like 20k subs. There's multiple shows a week. But like, whenever I ask him, like, hey, like, you know, want to do a show, I got this topic, and I think you're the right guy to talk to. He's like, yeah, sure, let me check my schedule. We'll set something up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. Like, because just in numbers, he's way up there in multiple shows a week, you know, already like bigger names in the music industry, you know, he has on, or he'll ask me to come on as a co-host for like one of those you know, podcasts, one of those streams. And I mean, yeah, like that's I mean, also kind of a camaraderie, different kind of camaraderie, just different circles, and you help raise each other up.
Yeah, well, and because everyone brings value, whether you're newer and you might have a smaller following, or maybe have a bigger following, there's all kinds of different value that people bring to the table. And it doesn't matter if you're at a higher level, maybe numerically with subscribers, or a lower. There are people who can dramatically enhance your show and bring value to the table, whether they're brand new or maybe they're established or somewhere in between. You know, and anybody with a show, content creation, you're always looking for other people to help create more content, because, you know, it's like, if it's all just on you, it's like, yeah, like you can do that. And a lot of people do, but I mean, having someone else bring great content to the table or something relevant, that's like, oh my gosh, yes, please. You know, people think because if you have a bigger show or notoriety that somehow it's just all magical. And it's like, no, there's a reason they got there. And it's a lot easier on them. One of the great ways of getting on bigger shows is if your shit's put together in a way that it's easy for them to have you on, and you hand them like a successful episode on a silver platter if they book you, like what it's about, the title, the learning outcomes, and it's compelling. So something about you is interesting, and it's something their audience is going to really enjoy. They're like, oh my God, like, when can we get this person on? They don't have to guess, like, what'll it be about? And then they have to, like, do it themselves. And what am I going to ask them? I mean, I send people, like, sometimes, you know, pre-selected questions, depending on the topic, just so they don't have to do all the work if they don't want to. Some people, they like to go more casual and just go with it, like you and I are doing today. But other people would just love to have just a list of 10 questions that they can go off of if they feel like it, so they're more prepared. Yeah, so everyone brings value, though. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. And yeah, the bigger content creators, I mean, they're big now, but, you know, they started off like we did. They started off with, you know, just like friends and family listening.
So did Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
He started off. Do you remember the old ones where he was like sitting at his computer, like in like a corner, and like the light from his computer would illuminate his face? There was like no professional lighting or anything. It was like in the middle of the night, and he's just talking into a mic on his laptop, and like the computer screen light is like what's illuminating him. It's like he's just this head, this face in the dark. I mean, that's where he started.
I mean, that's where a lot of podcasters start, and then, you know, eventually they get a bit better equipment, they get some better lighting, half decent backdrop, and this is like maybe a quarter decent backdrop. Still one of the this is like the next thing I need to improve, the backdrop, because it's also kind of falling apart. But yeah, like slowly but surely and it's illuminated by his laptop. Oh God, that's so amateur. That's so amateur hour.
Go look up old ones.
I should.
Old episodes. You'll see. I think he still had hair back then too. That's how you know
those are truly old ones. If he still had hair,
but you know what? He was talking about things that was interesting to him and interesting to other people. And he was doing it just because he probably the conversation of it, and it was something he just wanted to do. So I mean, the content of what he was talking about was enough that he enjoyed, and other people did too. And so it's like anything. You just start where you're at and go. I didn't start out with this microphone, this studio lighting, these headphones, you know, the 4K camera I'm using right now. I didn't start out with that, but I have it, so now I use it. It doesn't matter where you start. Just you start with whatever you got, the best you can do, and then move forward. That's like anything in life. Yeah.
Oh.
Plus, nobody likes a success story if your daddy bought you all the hotshot equipment from the day one. It's like, I want to hear the story of the guy who struggled, you know, and he built it up into something amazing, you know.
I mean, those are the best stories, you know, like like who is it? The words of Drake. Is he still like? Are we still okay with Drake, or is he cancelled as well? I'm not sure.
I have no idea. I know who he is. I don't listen to his
But
stuff.
you know, like started from the bottom. Now we're here, but those are the good stories. The people who just, you know, they fought and scratched and clawed to, you know, where they are now. I mean,
like Eminem.
Oh yeah.
I mean, perfect example. He lives a few hours south of me, and like, oh my gosh, yeah, that guy's story literally came from nothing. And he was white when rap music was mainly black. Like, you're walking in to get your ass kicked every time you try. Yeah. And he just kept coming back. And then he became better than a lot of them at a music style that they sort of invented. And you know, Dr. Dre recognized that one day, and he goes, you know what? He's white, but dude's got it. He's got it. Yeah.
No, and it's so cool because Eminem, like, it's the same. I heard that the other day. Like, he's also like way in his 50s now.
He's got to be. I just turned 40, and yeah, he's got to be 50 at least, or close to it.
I believe he's like 50, like 54, 55, somewhere there. And still touring, still, you know, bringing out, you know, still releasing music and whatever. And it's so funny because what I heard, the
52.
You're right. Jesus, Eminem 52.
He don't even look 52 either. Yeah.
No, man, good genes, very good genes.
Yeah.
But like, he's still touring and making music, not because he has to. I mean,
he doesn't have to. Oh yeah.
If he wants to, like, just his whole repertoire, he can easily retire off that. You know, he has his record label and, you know, fucking groups he produces and manages and whatever. Dude can retire and just, you know, very comfortably retire as well. But he keeps going because he wants to keep going, because he comes from that poor background, like, where you had to keep going if you know, you don't know today if you're gonna eat tomorrow.
Yeah. Got so that's what we call that blue collar work ethic over
here.
Yeah.
And he still brings that, and you still hear that. And
well, you know, he does what he loves, and he's really good at it at this point. He's one of the best in the world, if not, arguably the best. And you know, he got into doing this because it's what he wanted to do. And he had a knack for it, and he's developed that talent. And I don't know what he would do if he did retire. It's like, I would imagine he maybe never thinks of it like, well, what would I do if I'm not doing what I love, which is what I've been doing for years. Like, what am I going to do if I don't do that? I mean, I know for me, certain topics, certain things I do it because it just makes me feel alive. I enjoy it. It's like, it's nothing I wouldn't even like choose to do or not do it. It's just like, well, this is what I do. This is what I enjoy doing. And he happened to be able to build it into this massive thing, which is totally awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, as you mentioned before, like, well, both of us, like, we just love what we're doing. That's why we do it. You know, it's not for the money, the fame, the name recognition, whatever. I mean, if that comes with it, cool. You know, there's some nice perks.
Yeah.
But we do it for the love of it. And like, with the actual, like, good artists and good content creators, you see that, you hear that, you feel that, like, you see it when somebody just loves what they're doing.
Yeah.
And like the other way around, you see it as well when some people are just like kind of forcing themselves through
Oh yeah, you can tell.
It feels unnatural. Or like when you're watching a video or listening to a song, you're like, something's off. The vibe is just, it's a little off.
Yeah, a lot of times you can tell when somebody is just naturally, it's a deep part of them that's into what they're doing. And that's a beautiful place to be. Like, I play with words a lot. being a professional speaker, someone who's written a few books. I've written a few songs that got produced, like, and that kind of stuff. Words, for me, like a good example for me, a lot of times words just come to me. And then I get very curious about the thought behind the words, and then like word structures, and how could I say this idea like in one sentence to make it even more powerful, you know, than in 10 sentences. Like, how can I sum this up? Like, playing with words in that way is something I just naturally do because it's fun to me. Like, I don't know if you know what like copywriting is, like an ad copywriter.
I do.
Writing words to compel people to take a desired buying decision, make a buying decision. I was doing that for fun before I knew what copywriting was. I didn't know a copywriter was a thing. And then I was at some conference with some lady who's like a millionaire copywriter. She's like, you know, you can make a ton of money copywriting. And I was like, well, what's copywriting? Like, you mean that little C with the circle around it where you can't use the material? No, not copyright. Just copywriting. Like writing words, you know, headlines, titles, subtitles, details, you know, to get people to buy things and such. I was doing it and I'd never even heard of it. And so I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I started looking at like business or music, all these different things and playing with words. Like that's something I'll do till the day I die just because it comes out of me.
Yeah.
Whether or not I continue, you know, making money doing that, or I do it in a better way, or just as a hobby in a different way, who knows? But I think when you find something like that in your life that is sort of just it sort of comes out of you, and you can really just kind of aim that sucker and like really sharpen it in a productive direction. I think there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, and that's like at the same time that's also a great sign of higher intelligence, because a lot of people think that, you know, oh, there's this like wicked smart people, they, you know, they use all the big words and whatever but that's just to make themselves sound really smart. Like someone who's actually smart can just take a huge complicated topic and make it sound real simple.
Yeah, that's the real talent. If you can say something complex and say it simply. But we're taught differently in school, at least over here it feels like. I always felt if I sound more educated, I'll be more successful. No, most people communicate on about a 3rd grade level. So take a big concept, if you can communicate it clearly on that level where most people, the common people, can understand it, that's real power. And if you're a politician running for office, you have to know how to do that. Because if you don't, or have somebody doing it for you, because if you're talking over people, they're not going to vote for you. It's just like, the former president here, Abraham Lincoln, you know, back in the 1800s. I remember he was writing there's a story, he was writing a letter to one of his generals on the front lines during the American Civil War. And he started out the letter by saying, I apologize, I didn't have enough time to write you a shorter letter. Because he knows there's power in being concise as you can be and getting it across. And he felt like his letter was too long, but he's like, I apologize, I didn't have enough time to write you a shorter letter, because it takes more work to write something shorter that contains the information communicated clearly. Exactly to your point. Yeah.
Oh, that can be so incredibly difficult as well to, you know, to explain something like very shortly, especially if it's, you know, something that's such a big thing or something that you're really passionate about, and people are like, okay, explain it to me in like 1 or 2 sentences, and you're like, okay. Then you get started and you're like, no, that's going to be way more than 1 or 2 sentences.
I think Albert Einstein, I think it was Einstein, one of those really smart guys, I think he said something to the effect of, like, if you can't explain it in a sentence, you don't understand it.
Yeah.
It may have been Einstein or one of those other guys. I think it was Einstein. He said something like that, where if you can't explain it to me in a sentence, if you can't explain it in a sentence, you don't understand it. I thought that's genius level, obviously.
I mean, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, just the other day or a few few weeks ago, I decided I've never done that. Like, I applied for a job, but instead of sending in a letter, I sent in a video, like an application video. I've never done that before, but it had to be a minute, like no longer than a minute. So just, I had an idea of what I wanted to say. I set up my tripod, like just here on my desk, making it look a little professional instead of, hunched over on the couch. Yeah. And I started talking. I didn't want to do like any editing or whatever. Just wanted to do like a one shot, 1 minute video. Like my first 5-6 attempts, I was at the minute mark and I still had things to say. And I was like, shit. Like either I have to speed it up or shorten it, like straight to the point, because a minute is way short.
Yes.
It's way short. Like, especially if you're just used to like writing application letters, they also like no longer than a page, of course, like you don't want to write a whole freaking book about why you should work somewhere. Yeah. But like a video and like no longer than a minute, and you start and you're like, oh, we're already halfway and I'm just getting started. Oh shoot, this is difficult. That was one of the harder things I had to do, actually. Like, keep it short and concise, but like good enough.
Yeah. Well, that's where structuring it comes down. Like knowing how to structure a video like that, and then hitting those main points that you need to hit for what they want to hear. That will give you the best chance. Yeah, knowing how to like structure video. Yeah, I always say like I've given speeches. The shortest speech I ever gave was 3 minutes. The longest about 90 minutes. The hardest speech I ever gave was that 3-minute speech. Like fuck that. Like it was like it was just so like there's not enough time to. I mean, you can communicate an idea, try and build rapport, give them good information, and then get the hell out of there. Like, it was kind of like a one-off thing, but like, the shortest thing was the hardest one I ever did.
3 minutes. I mean, dude, you're still in like the warm-up of the introduction with 3 minutes. Like you're just getting started, but you had to do the whole spiel in 3 minutes. Wow.
It was a quick last-minute opportunity, so I'm like, all right, I'll do it. I sold like one of my DVDs for like $10, like one, which I'm like, well, I didn't expect that because they barely got to know me, But yeah, it was a chance for exposure, so I took it, and it was fine. But it was like way early on in my career too. I would have done an even better job. I'll do a 3-minute and smash it, completely kill it now, because I know exactly how to structure it if it's really short. Or if it's longer, how much I can include or not include. But that comes with experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, yeah, true. I mean, I've definitely on the podcast, I've, at the very beginning, kind of struggled with that as well. Just, thinking of things to say and, like, not letting it flow naturally. But if you're, like, trying to force it, it's not happening. And definitely on a couple earlier shows, like, I do still remember it, and I'm just like, oh, I don't want any dead air. I don't want the awkward silences where you're just sitting there like, I don't know what to say, but I don't want to end it on this awkwardness.
Yeah. But if that's where you start, get started, and you develop and get better as you keep going.
For sure.
A lot of people they're afraid to start something new and to fail at something new. But if you're really looking to do something, be willing to fail and just learn from. It's like jiujitsu. Get on the mats. If you get arm locked, tap out. Get arm locked 58 more times, tap out. And eventually you start learning how to get out of arm locks or how to avoid getting put in arm locks.
That's even better.
Yeah, exactly. And then in 5 years, people are like, wow, you're so good at this. They don't see all those arm locks. They don't see all those, things in the beginning. They see like the current present result of all of that buildup.
Yeah.
And that's with anything in life, though. Doing a podcast, doing jiu-jitsu, a new business venture, talking to women, whatever. Like, just like if you do something a lot, you tend to get good at it. And so develop, be bad at it if you have to, and just keep going. Don't stop. And I tell this to my kids all the time. They're 16 and 13. I tell them all the time, anything you do a lot in life, you will naturally become really good at. So take that concept for life. It's like, if you want to be good at something, do it a lot. My daughter plays volleyball, and I tell her, you should be practicing your serve 100 times a day. Walk outside, practice the serve 100 times every single day. You will be the best damn server on that volleyball team.
Yeah.
If you'll do it way more than everyone else, your brain and body are gonna like be coherent, and they're gonna get good at that motion and that result. And if you practice only 5 times over the summer, you're not gonna be very good. So, it's like, if you do it a lot, you're gonna get good at it. That's pretty much, I've never found that to not be the case in life.
Absolutely. Like, what was it again? Was that Bruce Lee or some other famous martial artist who said, I don't fear the man who practiced 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man who practiced one kick 10,000 times.
Yes. Because that's the one he's going to put straight through your ribs.
Yeah.
He's going to break a knee when he kicks you in the knee.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I mean,
that's exactly it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you ever see those YouTube videos of like those kids over in Thailand? They're like kicking down bamboo trees and shit.
Like, dude, yeah.
I'm looking at their shins, and they're like cutting this tree down with their shin. I'm like, how do they even have a leg left? And they're just like, wow. I mean, they built up to that. But that kind of thing, yeah. If you do it 10,000 times, that one thing, yeah, look out, because when that sucker lands, it's going to be damaged.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the knockout blow. And like, I was going to say, like, you'll know it when it happens, but if they're really good, you don't. Like, you'll just wake up after the fact and be like, oh, well, guess I lost this fight.
Yeah, about a half hour ago, and everyone's already gone. And you woke up.
The janitor with the sweep.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, man. Yeah. No, and perseverance is key.
Yeah.
Just
keep doing stuff.
Gotta keep trying. And if you fall, stand back up. Try again.
Oh, yeah. And, that's kind of a concept for life, too. If, I think what we're talking about, people feeling hopeless and things like that. If you can find something you enjoy or want to pursue and be constantly improving at and becoming better at, that provides a lot of sense of meaning and purpose to your life. If there's something that you're always striving to be better at, whether it's jiu-jitsu or business, or you're building something, especially as a man. Like men, we tend to be design, build, however you want to say it, the way we are, like we're made to build and produce. And when we're not building and producing, I think we tend to fall into a lot of things that makes us want to try to escape the feeling we get when we're not doing that. Viktor Frankl, had something he said about that. I'm trying to remember exactly how he said it. He was a Nazi prison camp survivor, but he said something like, what is it? Something like, when a man basically lacks a purpose, he'll substitute something. When he something about, I can't believe I can't think of it.
Yeah.
When he lacks meaning, he'll like substitute it with pleasure.
Yeah.
And that's where like a lot of people downfall, like drugs or sex or drinking, like over the top. When you lack a sense of meaning, we'll replace that with pleasure. It has something to do with that, but it's right on with what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, no, especially man, we need a purpose. We need to do something. We need to build something. Doesn't matter what, whether it's something physical, something tangible, or just something, I don't know, something spiritual, something mental. We have to build. We have to create. Yeah.
Yeah, and within community of other men, it's even more powerful because it's like I think there's a lot of bullshit in the Bible. But I think there's also some good life lessons, and one of the things it says, "Iron sharpens iron." And we get men around other men. We challenge each other. We can encourage each other. We can help each other carry the load. Or one guy's struggling, the other guys can come along and help him carry whatever he's carrying, help him do it better. Men, we do sharpen each other. And so not only just having that purpose, but also, a community of other men or people in general, depending on what it is, we're in community with, that's really powerful. And that's something I personally struggle with because I'm happy being alone, but I know it's not good for me. And so, finding other people who think like me or maybe go in the same direction can be a real challenge. And nowadays with social media, everyone's just, on their phones, and that can be an easy substitute to plop down on your couch and open your phone up to social media. And then you don't go end up hanging out at the campfire at your buddy's house with 10 other guys, where there's so much value in just being there,
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of temptations, but that's that's perseverance, that's character, that's we're getting better at that, or at least we're seeing now truly seeing the consequences of it, of the weak men who are creating hard times.
Unfortunately, I think we're in that part, because I think you're referencing that phrase. I can't remember how it goes, but hard men create easy times, and something like easy times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Unfortunately, I hate that I have to agree with you. I think we are at a time in history where men are weakened, and it is creating hard times. It in a number of ways. Not that it can't, become better in our lifetime, but we're in a period right now that's very much kind of that way. And I think it has a lot to do with, men being taught, to be more feminine, which femininity in general isn't bad, but, in my opinion, you can't tell a guy he needs to be more feminine. You can be more loving and compassionate, which are feminine qualities, but he still has to go out, hunt, kill something, and drag it home, and be able to withstand the cold fucking winters, because it's what we're built to do. It's what we have. You and I are here because we are that, and we come from ancestors who survived that shit. It's in our DNA.
Yeah.
And the ones who didn't do that, their ancestors aren't here. Like, their offspring isn't one of us. And so, that's what we are as men. It's what we are. There can be narratives all anyone wants about how we talked about, toxic people think men are, or that narrative at least. But hey, we built this fucking world, and without men, there's so much that men and women bring to the table, and we can't be trying to cut men's legs out from under them with what we naturally do, because our species won't survive without masculinity. No,
that's true, and I've said that many times on the show before. Like, men and women, we're not supposed to be equal. Like, we're equal opposites.
Yeah.
We need each other. We complete each other. The things that women are good at, they're the nurturing type. They're the ones who kiss the boo-boo away, if you will. And us men, well, I guess we're the ones causing the boo-boo.
Sometimes.
Yeah. No, but we have to be able to respect that. But I do think the pendulum is swinging the other way again, and I mean, I guess it's a good thing that all those soft men just refuse to reproduce. Oh, my bloodline ends with me. Good.
Yeah.
No complaints.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because if not with you, it would be with your offspring. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the guys who are saying that who, I mean, they're not going to be able to find a woman who wants offspring with them anyway. So
And that's what's interesting. That's what's interesting about like I say, like toxic feminism, not feminism, but like real toxic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll tell men you should be this way, that way, that way. But then if a man becomes that version of what like this feminist narrative says, none of the women want that guy. They want the guy who's the badass, the guy who's gonna go fucking kill and bring home food, the guy, the one they're trying to like civilize. They're trying to like civilize a barbarian, but the barbarian's what they're attracted to, because when shit hits the fan and the primal survival kicks in, it's not going to be the guy who's worried about getting his nails dirty. It's going to be the guy who's willing to go kill something, get bloody, bring it back, and she gets to eat another day, and so do her kids. And so, yeah, we live in interesting times. I think what happened is, obviously throughout history, there has been oppression of women, clearly. But now, I think what's happened is the feminist pendulum overswung and overcompensated. And now we're starting to see pushback going, hey, men and women both, we can agree this, like, yeah, it's probably gone too far in the one way, in the past. But now we've overcorrected this way. Like, let's try to get this back into balance. And of course, some people are just going to, knock heads. But I think there's hope for that. And I think a lot of it has to do with, again, I think if men just put the foot down and go, oh, that's how I'm supposed to be? Well, fuck that. I'm not that way, and I'm not going to be that way. Because what are you going to do? Are you going to make a guy something he's not? You can't. And those are masculine qualities. That disagreeableness, that's a masculine quality that's very attractive and is great for survival. I think in first world countries, at least where I live, I think we have these issues because every day people are not having to hunt their own damn food. Like, we don't live in a primal survival environment in America, at least. I can have my wife go to the grocery store or the gas station, bring something back. I don't have to go hunt the deer that walk through my backyard, and then gut the thing and catch it. And I don't have to do that every day. Well, I think people lose a sense of survival and how primal and bad things can be, and what it takes from men and women together to make survival happen when we're in such a blessed society. Even with things being as hard as they are for some people, it's, we're not having to go hunt every day for our food.
I mean, it's a good thing. It's
very much.
It's a good thing that, things have become easier, but indeed over time now that you don't even have to leave the house anymore if you want something. Like, there's an app for everything. There's a web shop or a website for everything. You can have everything delivered straight to your front door. For example, yeah, what doesn't Amazon have, either, itself or through third-party sellers or whatever. It's
like Christmas time isn't even that exciting anymore, because every other day is Christmas. I get a present at my front door from Amazon in a box.
Yeah. Santa Claus drives in a van.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, but as you said, we've forgotten the real world through that. We've forgotten what actual struggle is, what actual fighting is. And I think, things like jiujitsu or just, men's poker night or whatever, especially for men, just to be with the boys, to do something physical. It's not a perfect substitute, but it's still, it satisfies it enough that, we know what to do, that we get a sense of it.
Yeah, most of us, like you and me, we're all primal creatures, but we're very much living in a sort of non-primal society.
Mm.
And so, again, we're not having to go out and kill our food every day. So I think the key is trying to find where we can productively use how we're made in that primal way and adapt it to how our times are now, which is something we naturally do. It's a part of survival, adapting and overcoming to things, survival of the fittest kind of thing. It's a different environment, but we have these skills and these traits and these characteristics. How can we best use these now in this time. And, you know, everything's an evolution. Everything is constantly adapting and changing. And, you know, it's just what we do, and I don't think it'll ever change. So we just try to do it and be the best and get by without blowing ourselves and our planet into billions of pieces.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah. I mean, living on this planet, living in this society, it's not perfect, but it's, you know, destruction is so permanent. You know, it's another permanent solution to a very temporary thing. So, like, if we could not do that, that'd be great.
Yeah. And I think both sides in any dichotomy, whether it's a war thing or something like that, I think both sides want survival. And so, I mean, it's kind of like, there's a reason, you know, there's multiple countries that have, you know, nuclear weapons. The only problem is, if someone launches a nuclear weapon at another country, you're just going to get one back.
Yeah.
And that's not going to end good for anybody. So it's like, you don't want to be the one to push the red button, because we're ending ourselves. Like, there's no upside to that. Like, you're going to get them back and maybe more of them, and you're not going to get a happy outcome that you want. Or if you did nuke a place, the place will be desolate with radiation and destruction. Well, what are you going to do with that land for the next 10,000 years? Like, nothing, because it could be unusable or contaminated. It's like, you know, it kind of keeps both sides at odds, where nobody wants to do that because it's not going to end well. And so I think that's it's a healthy fear of not doing things like that.
The fear of mutually assured destruction, it keeps everybody in check. It's like that high school mentality that we spoke about earlier. You know, if everybody knows how to fight, nobody's got to get into a fight.
Pretty much, because you know, it's like, I mean, people who do that, they like to pick on people who are easy targets. Well, if everybody trains, not too easy of a target.
No.
And they might beat you, or their friends might beat you. So it's like, well, yeah.
We are just crossing the 2-hour mark. This has gone a lot longer than either of us anticipated. But I mean, you already predicted that this was going to be an easy one.
I think we had a great conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to say? Anything else that you wanted to bring up, or a final statement, perhaps?
Yeah. I will. We're living in a world right now where a lot of people are having a lot of challenges. They don't always necessarily feel they're equipped to handle, and some people feel hopeless. Some people feel like they can't go on. Mental health problems are at apparently an all-time high, whether it's on my side of the world or yours. And I want to encourage people, if you're dealing with something, if you don't know your next step to take, like I said earlier in the episode, go find somebody go get around people, go find someone who might be dealing with something, and simply listen to them. And if you can help them, try to help them. Try to help other people. It'll give a great sense of meaning to your life. It'll make you feel good. And sometimes you can have one little boost to feeling good, and that can last you a week or a month or however long. And the more good you do in the world, the better you're going to feel, and the more the world's going to reciprocate. Or you can call it karma or reaping and sowing, whatever you want to call it. What you put out there is generally what comes back to you. So if you're in a place where things aren't so good, try getting out there and doing good things for people and genuinely helping, and don't expect anything in return, because that's a whole different kind of thing. But go out there and do good things for the sake of doing the good things and get the benefit from that. And just know that in life, things do come back to you in their own way and in their own time that are helpful for you. And sometimes what comes back to you is far greater and better than you were hoping for something to come back to you. If you're thinking, I hope, I get this much, back, someday, it would be nice. Well, depending on how much good you do in the world, it could be tenfold that much. And maybe even in a different way than you expected, that's even better than the way you were hoping for. You just don't know enough to be hopeless completely. You don't know enough about life, and neither do I, to know what's around the next corner that could be really, really good and helpful for you. And you might even just find the next thing, your next passion, the next thing that you want to live for and do that makes you feel alive. And so I just want to encourage you with that. Go out and help people, and just enjoy what life creates for you, and what the life you create in doing so.
Wise words. Wise words. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, this has been another amazing episode of the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. Ryan, seriously, thank you so much for coming on. This has been great. It's been a pleasure. This is she's like the third 2-hour plus show in 3-4 days. So I'm on a roll with them. But yeah, man, thank you so much. Let everybody know where they can hear more of you, where they can find more of you, because I'm sure if they if they like this, they gotta want to know more.
Yeah, I'm all over social media, Brian Fleming or Brian C. Fleming. And if you want to see more about my speaking and what I do with my keynote speeches and all the speaking I do in my career, just go to blownupguy.com, because I'm a guy who got blown up, along with thousands of other guys like me in war. But I'm just the guy who bought the website blownupguy.com because it's easy to remember. So yeah, check me out there, and send me a message or something if you want.
Awesome, thank you very much. I'll make sure that that the details are in the description box down below, and at the very least your website. You are indeed the one who bought the domain, so yeah, that's a good one. And for everyone else watching, for everyone else listening, I thank you very much for doing so. I mean, without an audience, I probably wouldn't be doing this. I mean, I am having a lot of fun doing this, but to have an audience makes it that much better, or that, makes it better. So if you are not subscribed yet, then what the hell are you doing? It's a matter of just a simple click. So go ahead and click subscribe, click like, leave something nice in the comments. Can be anything, just something nice. We all need to hear something nice, and don't be the jackass on my Gary Wayne video calling me all kinds of names, and you don't even know who I am. And if you're that jackass, you're a jackass. For everyone listening on the audio platforms, do give us that 5-star rating. That helps us push a little further into the algorithm and get these amazing conversations and amazing guests to more and more people. Share this with, everyone. As I always say, just share it with everyone. There are lessons sprinkled throughout, and everyone can learn something from it. So yeah, thank you all very much. And if you want to learn more about what we do on the podcast, if you want to learn more what we do with the Tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans, or even the Grove of Odin, simply go to our website, www.greyhornpagans.com. Everything can be found there, from the different podcasts that we do to blogs, books, let's see, Patreon merch, the ramblings of a near madman, even that. We have some interesting people in the tribe. That is www.greyhornpagans.com. For now, I want to thank you all. Until next time, bye-bye. This was yet another amazing episode of the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. We thank you all for watching. We thank you all for listening. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you will be notified whenever we upload something new. Support us on Patreon for early access and for everything else that we do with the tribe, for everything else that we do with the podcast, find us on www.greyhornpagans.com. For now, we thank you, and until next time.